Two Key Theories in Education. This article kind of gives a survey of two major theories as you read it, which is really good for whenever you look at the effective instruction class. And the first one it talks about is Confucius, and then it also talks about John Dewey towards the end of the article. The article begins with an overview of Confucius. Kind of gives you just kind of a quick little summary of it, and that's why I picked the article, because it kind of went real light on it, which is really good. It talks about Confucius was considered the first public school teacher in China, breaking the monopoly of private schools under control of the emperor. He is said to have taught nearly 3,000 students. It talks about the concept of his 5 relationships, the hierarchy of relationships from the national level to the household and community. Government is to have a role in making the lives of people better, and absolute ethical values exist. I kind of like that quote right there, that government has a role in making the lives of people better. Even though sometimes we get upset with taxes, and because taxes are so high, people need to realize that government is supposed to spend money in the government. It's called a cycle. If government taxes all the time but they do not spend, then that money will actually dry up. Of course, the problem is the government sometimes spends way too much, and that's how we get what's known as a national debt. It talks about the 5 virtues: benevolence, righteousness, propriety, knowledge, and sincerity. The universal golden rule, or as the negative, the silver rule, as it's sometimes called, is attributed to Confucius. What you do not like done to you, do not do to others. So that was, in case you didn't know, the golden rule comes from Confucius. Although most of Confucius' work was destroyed during the Qin dynasty, what happened was his story actually was taken through conversations called the Analectics, and that was nice and all, but a true measure of someone and their teaching ability comes from what are known as schools. And after Confucius died and passed on, we see that many other teachers begin a Confucius school that emerges. And you see this idea of this legalism emerges, that the desire are innate at birth and virtues obtained through education. But what really happens, without going into huge books on this, is many of the dynasties of the emperors use Confucianism along with other philosophies to help create a natural system of control over their students. An education system, if you want to, or an education system that allows people to be educated and to create those virtues. It's not bad that Confucianism was used in this area, in this idea and this concept. However, it was good that that his thoughts and ideas continue to expand. The big one that we always talk about, of course, is this article now segues into John Dewey. John Dewey was born in 1859, and he did go to China. That's what the first part of this article talks about, is his trip to China, which they try to make a connection between Dewey and Confucianism. If you look at John Dewey's resume, it seems like he was just in the right place at just the right time with the correct brain and genius aptitude. He goes to Johns Hopkins University, works on his dissertation, which of course says now lost, but he works on his, and you see all these names here, that John Dewey was just really lucky to be educated and meet such these smart people. Of course, John Dewey was a genius, but it just kind of combined perfectly in a nice little situation. He talks about the principles of psychology. John Dewey's favorite book was William James's The Principles of Psychology. If you ever get a chance to read that, you may want to. And this then gives a little bit summary of John Dewey's ideas. The emphasis on the need for studies to be psychologized in order to be taught to children. Interests provide leverage for growth. Students must experience in order to learn. Tendency to use intrinsically rather than intrinsically criticize. And the teacher's job to select appropriate stimuli. Then it segues from this and talks about John Dewey arriving in China. So this is kind of a really good survey piece which talks about two major people in education. And from this, we would want to segue into John Dewey. And let's understand who John Dewey is so we can understand his theories. So, very easy article to read, very easy article to review. Real simple to do, real simple. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and now you get a better idea of this.